Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Overwatch Contenders Trials Season 3. I am Bupasaurus here with LaFon and Panda on the desk. I'll introduce those casters here in just a second because they require their own introduction. But for now, I'm also going to introduce the teams. Today's game, our one game today, is going to be HSL Esports versus Tea&Biscuits. And I'm just going to go ahead and set the stage for you guys a little bit today. As of right now, the only thing that's confirmed our British Hurricane and We Have Org are locked in to go into Contenders proper. Right now, everyone from 3 to last place, which is Oshtek, are still capable of making it. The only thing today that is going to be for sure going in tomorrow is that every win matters for these teams. You win, you're setting yourself up for greater success. And now let's talk about how these teams are going to get there. Let's go ahead and start with Panda, my friends. Something that we've been talking about a lot is the support lines from each of these teams. And support, they don't get a lot of love all the time, but these two support lines specifically have really shown their stuff, Panda.
I would definitely agree in saying that these two support lines have shown their stuff. Boop. So we'll start with Tea&Biscuits for sure. Webster, Mini Kunga, those are two names that have been showing up not only in your kill feed when Tea&Biscuits have been on broadcast, but also to the point where they're enabling their tanks. We know that
Hmm.
supports, like you had mentioned, that they don't always get all of the love in the world because of what they bring to the table. Webster is one of those Lucios that really utilizes his amped out ability, and it's very pivotal for his tanks when you see a Reinhardt and a Zarya just bulldozing into you. And that's by way of Webster being at the right place at the right time. Really good cooldown management. And what sets that up is Mini Kunga Zenyatta. Mini Kunga Zenyatta is always there, kind of that hidden DPS in the backline for Tea&Biscuits. But that is also said for HSL, specifically Hedon. Hedon's always been back there with a proper Discord orb target, readily in utilizing his tank's movement capabilities to pounce on said Discord orbs. But the one thing that I'm very excited to see is Ascoft coming back in, because on HSL in particular, with their main tank getting set into his current pace, we get to see Ascoff back onto that Lucio role, where we saw a lot of him in Open Division, and that was very exciting to see for about the same reasons that Tea&Biscuits were just mentioned for. So just really enabling the rest of the team so that way the DPS can be there to clean up on the space created by the tanks.
So, something I do want to talk about as well. So, Panda, you talked about who they were and what they bring to the table. LaFon, can you describe to me what we're going to see in game between these two support lines?
I think one of the more interesting things is right. One of the supports are so very important in this current patch in terms of what they bring to the table, and this has been true for a little bit of time. But the fact that we're going to be able to focus and see how they match up in a head-to-head, in terms of both sharing healing output, which is valuable if you're running sort of the tank compositions that have been a little bit more of the flavor recent or in previous time, to sort of the damage addition, as well as stuff like the Bionate if you're playing Ana. Being able to land those critical skills is very,
Hmm.
very valuable. So I'm expecting, sort of to see which teams are going to play aggressively in terms of using their cooldowns, or defensively if that ends up being the case. Because if you're able to land, Ana specifically, if you're able to land those aggressive biotic grenades and aren't forced to use them defensively, it can be the difference between a team fight win and loss. So I'm really, really, intrigued and expecting a little bit more from these supports in terms of aggressive playstyle, and hitting those critical abilities.
And something that both of these support lines offer too, Panda, is versatility where, people can flex on Anna, people can flex on Zenyatta. What does it bring to the table to have that versatility, and who's going to utilize it a little bit better in this game?
Specifically, what that'll end up seeing out of your support line is that you'll end up having a Zenyatta specialist. In particular, it's going to be Hedon and Minikunga again taking up that mantle, and so that way Webster, Ascoft, if we see a little bit of Mono today as well, we'll be able to flex over to that Ana in the slower pace matchup where speed isn't the most utilized ability, but Discord Orb is better, and you also need those burst heals from the biotic grenade from Ana in particular. I can end up seeing Tea&Biscuits gaining a certain footing on that battle in particular, that mini game, if you will. It's just because of how much time that these two supports have been playing together. My biggest worry for HSL right now is Ascoff. He's been bouncing in between main tank and going back to support. So when the match matters the most, when the HSL needs to gatekeep, is when everybody needs to be playing at their finest. They need to be firing off on all cylinders here. And I want to see Ascoft come back into the support role very wonderfully and take it to the support line in Tea&Biscuits.
Well, something that you guys both mentioned. Now we're going to talk about some other roles right now that supports will enable other members of the team. And something that's been going on with HSL is their tank line has not been very consistent throughout trials so far. LaFon, people say you can build a team around a tank. The tank has got to be your flag holder. Strategies are built around that. Goat's so tank heavy, right? With all of the changes, we have Crandot playing today for HSL, and they have won 3 in a row, so it might not be a problem. But do you think this tank line might have a little bit of an issue based on the lack of experience playing together?
It's a concern. And I think that's something that Tea&Biscuits is going to try and want to exploit in their gameplay today. But I think for HSL, you mentioned they'd been on a winning streak. So how much of that has been, the tanks just being implemented correctly immediately, which would be stellar for them, and how much of it is people just not noticing if they're playing not so or not nearly as synchronized as perhaps they want to be. I think it is definitely going to be a matchup to watch. We talked about supports, but those have been historically pretty good for both these teams. So now the tank lineup, this is definitely the question mark for HSL as they're trying to cement their place. Can their tank lineup synchronize properly? And to this point, they haven't been tested realistically in that particular slot. You mentioned goats, but I think more interestingly would be if they're running the dive composition, right? Because you have to trust that your tanks are going to be in position pretty quickly. And HSL haven't been content running, the tried and true, if you will. They're willing to, flex it up a little bit. And so that is going to be a place to definitely look at in this matchup.
For those of you at home, Goats is a triple support, triple tank. We've been seeing it a lot. And I want to go to Panda. Tea&Biscuits have been known to be able to compete against that Goats composition, whatever form it may be. Do you think we're going to see that today and what they're bringing to the table?
It's certainly possible. Those that have been keeping track, even for those that haven't, I'll go ahead and I'll inform you that Phillian has a darn good far. We were conversing about it before hopping on broadcast here, that the map picks, if they are in the favor for Tea&Biscuits, and we do get to see a lot of Pharah play. I mean, hell, we've seen Phillian force Pharah in a multitude of situations where you wouldn't even expect Pharah to be played, even against certain hit scans across the board. But when that Pharah comes out and you can land as many direct rockets as Phillian does, you build that quick barrage. It's normally a very good tank buster and armor buster into that 3-3 composition, that goats, if you will. So HSL definitely needs to be worried about that. We've also seen a good counter goats from Tea&Biscuits as well. They're very slow, methodical, very knowledgeable players. You can see their coaching staff coming through in their play physically, just how well they back themselves up when a huge ultimate comes around the corner, as well as just Lynx in particular. We speak about him time and time again about his hit scan capabilities, but his Zarya is all. His McCree is really good, but his Zarya in that Goats matchup is very, very pivotal. Just from his team bubbles, helping out Valmaster just to push forward a little further, gets him a whole bunch of charge, and his tracking. We were just lightly talking about it with his McCree, but when you put it onto a high charge Zarya, it's very deadly.
That aim comes in handy, right? It's kind of
Exactly.
the point of the game. And so now, we've talked about the play styles, we talked about some questions, we talked about what might go well, but now let's talk about who we think are going to win. So let's go ahead and throw some predictions out there. We got a 4-map set. Are we going to see 5 games, Panda?
I think we're definitely going to go to 5 games. Tea&Biscuits have been showing us how much they've improved throughout Open Division. They've taken it to so many teams. They have made their strongest matchups not look as convincing as you may think. But I think HSL is just too strong at this moment in time. Implementing Crandop rather has been very strong for this team on that win streak that we were just talking about. Like, it's going to go to 5 maps, but I could see HSL taking it in a 3-2 fashion.
Oh, wow. 5 maps. HSL have loved their 5-map set so
That's
far.
true.
What about you, LaFon?
I mean, their only 2 losses are to We Have Oregon British Hurricane, something we sort of titled at the top of the broadcast. That means that I'm more likely to expect HSL to come out on top. And even though 3-2 have been the flavor of their matches so far, I'm going to go down a limb here and say HSL take this one 3-1.
So we got 2 HSL, 1 in a 5-mat set. That is Panda thinking 3-2. We got LaFon 3-1 for HSL. I'm really excited for Tea&Biscuits Roten to show off some diva play. Definitely competed against Happy Cool last week, as well as seeing Dan, a great support on HSL as well. Let's see how that's going to look. But for now, we're going to take a quick break before we throw you into the game. And now I get to finally introduce your casters. So today, you're going to see Trid and Ryan Central on the other side of the break, and we will be on Nepal. See you guys soon.
Ain't nobody like you, yeah, you got me tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you, yeah, you got me tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you. When times are down, you know I'll be with you. Yeah, times are rough, this time I see it too. All this bullshit drama, I can see right through. Everybody wants something they can't have, so they gon' put it on you. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. Over the ocean, I can see us there. Let's run away and be forever young. We'll catch the sun where there's no need to run. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. 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 I see you, and you see me too. We may be broke, but we see the truth. All this bullshit drama, I can see right through. Everybody wants something they can't have, so they gon' put it on you. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. Over the ocean, I can see us there. Let's run away and be forever young. We'll catch the sun where there's no need to run. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there.
Well, looks like we've got ourselves another match on the go. I'm Trid, and we got Ryan Central with me to cover this match. HSL versus Tea&Biscuits. You heard the analyst desk talk about it beforehand. On the scale of things, this doesn't make anything definitive happen based purely off of this result, but it does get these guys closer to securing them a spot in a Contenders Season 3, and that's reason enough to get excited about this match, Ryan.
It's all about momentum, really. Both of these teams had very different week twos in general. Three games that they played last week. HSL won them all. Tea&Biscuits lost them all. So if Tea&Biscuits could sort of win this match, they could get the momentum. And as you said, it's all to play for. Like all four teams that haven't been promoted can get promoted to Overwatch Contender Season 3 if they can get the results.
And we're jumping into the game now. And the pile, of course, is our first map. And we're going to kick things off on Sanctum. And already the high ground being taken by what appears to be the side of HSL. They're going to be off to the side and moving around the back, of course, Tea&Biscuits.
So Tea&Biscuits running the Sombra Doomfist. The DPS characters like Lynx and Fillion, the players are very much hot and cold and have some really impactful moments. Right now, they're just buying their time, waiting for the objective to open up. No kills so far, though. Both teams taking their time.
Tea&Biscuits just getting themselves on the point. Doomfist not working out well enough. That was a huge nade coming out by Ana to get everyone denied that healing. Roten going to take out Sardis. And Valmaster is going to be getting that Goomba stop onto Ashkoff, but control of the point definitely looks like it's going over to Tea&Biscuits.
Yeah, Crandop's sort of on the point, trying not to sort of take down, but they're actually not going to give this up. So HSL are going back in. Psychers to pulse bomb, looking for a target to stick it on. Sort of zones off the Doomfist, but it isn't much else. But right now, it looks like they actually managed to sort of get back on it.
Well, they managed to get the flip round. The capture didn't come in for Tea&Biscuits, so they got bodies on the point. Fillion having to back out on the Sombra, while kills are still being traded back and forth. Roten, of course, is going to drop Crandop, but you've still got Sardis on that Doomfist. He's solo DPS right now for HSL, going in with the Meteor Strike. Not going to find anyone, but does buy a lot of zone control. Speaking of which, Roten gets denied out of his mech by the uppercut. Ashkoff coming in with the kill to make sure he cannot get back in there. Lynx is going to take out Hadan. No one has got control of this point yet, Ryan. The fight goes on, but HSL have finally planted the flag.
Tea&Biscuits, you could sort of tell at some point they were willing to give it up because they didn't use big ultimates like the EMP or Mini Kunga's Nano Boost. So they tried to go in to try and get the sneaky playback. They obviously thought that they could get the point from HSL, that they had enough bodies there. And then they decided, let's just hold on to our ultimates. Like Lynx almost has another Meteor Strike ready to go. And he's hoping to use it soon.
Well, Nano Boost is being traded on the backside. Valmaster getting onto the back line of HSL Esports, making him feel the lightning that courses through him and into his opponent. Primal Rage, Crandrop jumps in, self-destruct, moves to the side, Roten falling into the pit, so he's going to be not much good as Crandrop takes out a fellow 8, 35% and ticking for HSL Esports.
Tea&Biscuits using big ultimates in that fight, now switching up their comp. Fillion is now over to the Brigitte, Lynx on the McCree, so they wait to use those ultimates, kind of give up the point to begin with, but they didn't really go their fashion. They put a lot of resources into killing Hedan very early in that fight, the Nano Boost from the Valmaster, and also the EMP. That's a big bomb actually, takes out 2. Mini Kunga and Lynx are out this fight. HSL Esports delaying this a little bit further.
Jezerk's getting in there with that pulse bomb double kill. Unfortunate roll coming in from Lynx to make sure that kill came through on the McCree. Wasn't quite sure what he was going to do. When he panics, mistakes come through then. Crandop
HSL
on that point, waiting for Tea&Biscuits to come in again and attempt. 75% ticking. They probably got 2 more fights if they're fast to come through here. Tea&Biscuits over top. Sound barrier available. They're going to drop it early to make sure everyone's nice and protected. Crandop, the first casualty of the fight, and Zeke's going to do his job. Finally, Kunga on the back line. Take him out as he moves around to the side. HSL Esports have conceded territory, and they're going to concede the point, but the fight still rages on. Meteor Strike coming in on top of some support as Valmaster taking a nap from the sleep dart. Was in that primal rage as he's now lost it, regaining that ultimate again. Control still for Tea&Biscuits, so they're pushing HSL Esports back into the fight. Nice stick from Zeke again onto Lynx. Huge self-destruct, clears off the remaining members of Tea&Biscuits. HSL Esports coming back in this one. They're going to get a flip despite some resistance from Tea&Biscuits.
Again, Tea&Biscuits dedicating a lot of ultimates to a fight and losing. They're not getting as much effective use as they want. Lynx now changing over to the Tracer. Roten actually going to be on the Wrecking Ball to try and push on through. It's 95%, so they need to be able to touch the plane overtime. They don't really have much ultimates to work with.
Here's the Hammonds change up. Roten back on the Wrecking Ball. Going to be a kill from Nintendo on the back line. He's been feeling the pain from HSL Esports DPS line this game. Roten off the point, but the cap comes in for Tea&Biscuits, going to send them back onto the point to contest it. Primal Rage swinging around, clearing some space. Roten getting the work done. Sardis dropping down to the micro cannons of the hamster. Is Tech 36 going to find Lynx? The rest of the remaining Zeke on this DPS lineup for him. Tech 36 again onto Roten. Zeke with the sound barrier, he's been reinvigorated, trying to take on the Brigitte, but it's easier said than done to kill one of those. Look at the amount of bodies that just kept in that corner. Sardis going to be the one that takes Billion down. Finally, 50% in climbing for Tea&Biscuits, but this game looks like it's going to go over to HSL Esports. They can just win this final fight.
Yeah, they just need to decide when they want to dedicate ultimates. And we see the Diva Bomb coming in, doesn't get much because the Winston shield was there to block it. But right now we see Tea&Biscuits dedicating a lot to hold on to. They need to. Now HSL Esports have to find a way to stop breaking through, and that might be it. Webster taking up the fight so shortly after he uses his sound barrier.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that he's going to be knocked off the map as Lynx picks up a double kill. It's going to be Hedan and that pulse bomb onto him, so he's going to be dropped down. Crandop going low, will get the Goomba stomp and stop Lynx's killing spree. Tea&Biscuits getting very close to challenging that 99% that HSL Esports already have. It will just take one coordinated fight. Either way to end this round, Ryan.
It's a very evil way. I like the way you've sort of worded it as evil, but right now Sardis has that Meteor Strike. He's looking for a pick, and that's all they really need to get started. 94% on the point for Tea&Biscuits. This is going all the way to 99%, 99%.
Absolutely, Sardis going to back out after using that Meteor Strike. Self-destruct over the top finds nothing. HSL Esports haven't flipped the point, but they've got bodies there to contest, as have Tea&Biscuits. Lynx will take out Hadan with the help of Valmaster, as he's going to back off, but he can't recall twice. Going to get taken out by Ashcroft, who's dancing around. The flip came in for HSL Esports. Sound barrier is there. They're looking to take it right now. They just need to get rid of Valmaster, who's still jumping around with that primal rage. Crandop pops his own to get back into the fight and knock him off the point. He wants to keep Wrecking Ball far away from it, and that's enough for HSL Esports to take round 1 of Nepal.
Tea&Biscuits must be so disappointed. They did so well when they went down to 99% overtime to take the point and hold it for as long as they did, but there was a lot of emphasis put on to sort of taking Hedan out of the fight on Anna. Managed to get it a couple of occasions, but on the point is where they lost it. It just seemed that HSL had more bodies, and I'd say that both sides are lacking that clinical nature, especially on that map at least. But now we go onto the other areas of Nepal where it opens up a little bit more, right? So we're going to see hopefully a little bit more dive. I want to see more Wrecking Ball, but Roten is going to be going onto the Zarya. Lynx on the Sombra. I think they're expected to run into that triple tank, triple spot that HSL do have lined up. So I'm really interested to see what Lynx could do on the Sombra on this part of the map at least.
Someone's very good, of course, at shutting down that Reinhardt. You hack that shield. He's just a walking bag of ult charge, and you've essentially won the fight. But where he chooses to go with his targeting still remains to be seen, contesting this offset point. Rather than going to the capture itself, Zeke taking out Roten very early, so that's going to be HSL Esports taking this fight. That's one member down, and when you're playing these deathball compositions, losing one is just enough, and I think Tea&Biscuits know that. That's why they backed off.
Yeah, that one pick just sort of slows them down so much that they're quite happy to give up the point. They don't want to do what they did on Shrine, right? They don't want to sort of get onto the point, dedicate a lot of resources and ultimates. They just want to sort of wait for it. But then again, Lynx does get taken out early in that fight, just delays it even more. And that's time that Tea&Biscuits kind of have to begin this map, but it all adds up in the end. And it might just be the difference of them being able to take this point or them losing out 100% zero.
I mean, I'm hoping we don't see 100-0 slapping in this map early, Ryan. I'm going to be honest with you, but 22% and climbing for HSL Esports. Tea&Biscuits going off to the side, so they got through that choke. They can't push onto the point itself. There's a huge Reinhardt in the way, and you can swing that hammer all you want. But then you just get booped back out by Ashkoff, and now the offensive comes to the HSL Esports. They've reached outside of that point, seeing a Transcendent very early from Minikunga, but here comes the Graviton Surge, keeping them all together. EMP trying to stem the flow. Roto, Minikunga getting kills of their own. The HSL Esports suffering half their team's worth of casualties as they're going to go onto the point. Foulmaster charges in with no connection, has that Earth Shattered, he's not going to need to use it, just needs to get that D-Mech, and the point flip surely will be going over the Tea&Biscuits.
Really clever EMP that came out of Lynx there. It was almost defensive because so many Tea&Biscuits were caught in Zyke's Graviton Surge. The Lynx sort of went behind the enemy backline, EMP'd them, hacked them all, and they couldn't, progress onto where the Graviton was. So, in a sense, it did save a lot of Tea&Biscuits as they were stuck in that grav, and they were able to get the picks that followed and take the point. But HSL Esports do have a few ultimates of their own. Roten has a Graviton, which might be the difference here in this fight. It's a big ultimate, but I am certainly looking at both Earth Shatters for Frandov and Bums.
Well, that Shadow War could happen at any moment. Protective barriers being used. They're usually the second win saving grace. Graviton Surge coming out early from Roten, pulls him into the sand barriers there. Self-destruct flying onto the point. He's managed to get outside, but won't connect with anyone to the barrier. It's good from Roten to keep him alive. Minikunga taking out Crown Doc Billion. Answering a kill onto Brigitte. The charge comes in, protect the barrier, will stop any damage coming from behind him. Kill advantage and man advantage over the T&B. They still have control of this point. They're going to D-Mech Tech 3-6, take out Hadan, and finally just let D.Va go and kill herself. Lynx going outside the spawn, noting any of the changes that might come out from HSL.
Now Lynx is in the backline with an EMP. Don't think he'll use it now, but having that information ready. He's looking for a target that might be running away from spawn on his own. Maybe Hadan using the EMP to just completely negate the Zenyatta's full health, but he's just sort of
walking up behind him, Ryan.
I'm with you guys. I'm switching sides. Like, let's go. Let's try and win
It's a
this.
false flag operation. He goes in with the EMP, and Sardis seems to be hit by it. Many members unable to use their abilities, and Tea&Biscuits not capitalizing as fast as I'd like them to, as Minikunga able to get a kill onto Ashkoff. The Transcendence comes out from Hadan. It's answered by Minikunga's, but he's going to last a little bit longer, give him an edge in this fight. This is the time the offensive well as Valmaster will go down Tech 3-6, but Minikunga, again, he finds two by himself. The support is turning into a bit of a Terminator as Zeke throwing all he can with that Graviton Surge, but Tea&Biscuits are able to capitalize so much more than they are from HSL Esports. 97%, about to hit that 100. This Tea&Biscuits equalizing the series.
Both Zenyatta's there doing terrific work. Hadan managing to miss out on Lynx's EMP that he was able to get the Transcendence off, but it was Minikunga getting all of those picks and doing the amount of damage that he could to sort of wave off HSL Esports, who looked like they might able to get onto the point to survive to get the eliminations that they need. But it was the Zenyatta Minikunga that came around and turned it around in their favor. So this fight, even though it was much more in Tea&Biscuits' favor, is so much side to side that I'm really excited to see what happens on this point. It's sort of a hybrid between the last two that we've seen on Nepal. It's quite open, like Shrine, but Sanctum, it has that area on the point where you can run the triple tanks, triple support, and get effective use out of that. So you have a bit of a hybrid of open space, but nice and close quarters combat too.
May is also an option on Village, which is of course what we're going to see with Zeke or Zyke, whatever the pronunciation is. Sardis, of course, on that Doomfist. So they want to make a little bit of a Hell in a Cell match on this point, which is totally possible with that May wall. Going to be answered HSL Esports, putting it up early, just forcing a choke point and keeping them off, and forcing a one-by-one approach to this point. So getting that kill onto Lynx and taking out the opposing Doomfist, and yet again, dividing the fight with that wall. Valmaster will get the charge and shut down their big brawler in the form of Sardis as they get positional control. HSL Esports been forced off the point, but not entirely. They're still using the wall for cover to contest. They missed that a little bit. It's going to give Tea&Biscuits the point. Biotic grenade onto Valmaster. Weren't able to secure the kill as Roten takes out Crown Drop. So they're missing members on HSL. Tea&Biscuits, they've got control of this, and it's forcing out a reset already.
I really like the May pick here. The issue is you don't really have that instant kill. You have Sardis on the Doomfist, sure, but it really did look like HSL there started off the fight getting picks, alienating people like Lynx on the Doomfist, but it wasn't quick enough to fully team wipe HSL Esports, who thought, whilst we have lost a couple of people, we can still dedicate to this. So not only did Tea&Biscuits take the point, they've also got a couple of big ultimates themselves. Graviton Surge for one, and they're about to use Rally now to keep themselves up and ready for this next engagement. This HSL Esports also have a fair few ultimates of their own.
They're going to be trading gravitons. They just going to have to stare at each other. Not much is going to come out of this one other than a flame strike. But Zyke still gets Billy and a shatter. Will be thrown onto the ground. Transcendence to top everyone up and make sure nobody falls down for that one. Crandop sitting on that nano boost, but he has to find some more targets, otherwise it could be quite wasteful. Tea&Biscuits still having control of the point. There's a nice seismic slam coming out from Doomfist, won't secure any kills, will force him away. Sound barrier being used by Webster to top everyone up and using that speed boost to reposition everyone. And they're trying to pincer HSL Esports in. Tech36 going to take out Roten before he takes out Hidan. Valmaster with a charge with the Crandop, so still looking like we got a numbers advantage in favor of Tea&Biscuits until Sardis gets involved with that slam. Blizzard isolating part of the point exclusively for HSL Esports. Sleek comes back in with that Meteor Strike. Seismic Slam will take out Billy and Minikunga onto Zeke. Tech36 finds Lynx, and HSL Esports are so close to the flip. They just need to get rid of this pesky Reinhardt, and that job's a good one. They're going to get the flip.
The issue is it just took so long. Both times in the engagements that they looked to be able to get the point, it took them a good sort of 20 to 30 seconds to be able to confirm it. It seems that there's an element of they're not really sure what tactics to go for. You highlighted the sort of pincer movement that came out of HSL. It looked really good. Then it kind of went, let's not do that. Let's go back to point and take it. They look a bit indecisive with who and what they want to go and attack. So Tea&Biscuits stalled as long as they possibly could. They're going to build up ultimates. They have time to work with. HSL Esports needs to try and hold on.
That's a huge combination from HSL Esports. Graviton coming in there. Bionic Nade, Seismic Slam. Just get Doomfist in there. Start wailing on all of them. Easy combo from HSL Esports with only a Tech36 committal.
The good thing about having control at this point with a maze, you can either see that they're coming in the low ground for the main entrance, or whether they're going high ground through the little balcony sort of doorway. So just having the maze there to wall them off and completely separate targets like a Reinhardt really good. Like now, exactly now. They've separated Valmaster, who uses nerf shot and doesn't get much with it.
Yeah, he's not able to get much done, but they weren't exactly getting kills on the side of HSL Esports, just off the back of it, rather than during the combo and the play that they wanted to set up. Earthshatter goes straight into the wall.
Oh,
A
no.
little bit of miscoordination there, as Zeke going to deny his Reinhardt a big shatter. Being forced off the point, just going to have that swing through the shield. Valmaster getting kills, one more attack. Oh, he's used the Meteor Strike to get away. Moved out of the Meteor Strike for Ashkoff to get the kill himself. HSL Esports, they're really messing with each other right now in terms of their ability usage.
Yeah, and I think we can all understand Crandop's feeling there of a May blocking off a really good Earth Shatter, no doubt.
But it wasn't just that as well. Ashkoff just booped someone out of the Meteor Strike that Sardis put down as well. These guys are just messing with each other at this point. 90% are ticking. Moving on to the final fight. There's the Graviton Surge, Sound Barrier, keeping them Bionic Grenade to top everyone up with the healing. Here comes Lynx with the big slam off the Crandop, so they've taken out that Reinhardt, and Roten follows up with multiple kills. This is going to be a flip for Tea&Biscuits, and there might be enough time for HSL to contest, but they go quick.
They have one more time, one more engagement that they're ready to go for. Zyke almost has his ultimate, has the Blizzard for this next engagement. I'm interested to see if they can get some synergy going on with Tex as Graviton if you can get there. But are they going to be able to touch? They're all slow heroes. Relies on the Doomfist being able to reach it, so they might not have a chance. This is going to be really tight. I don't think they're going to be able to...
this. Oh, they didn't even touch! HSL, what are you doing? Tea&Biscuits gonna take that final map, go 1-0 up in this series. So it looks like it's gonna be HSL Esports pick for the next map, and that's gonna be coming up after a short break. But Ryan, what happened there, man? Are you gonna have a C9 this early into the series? Come on.
I think that sort of summed up HSL sort of how they've been working on this so far. Just the elements of that communication up in there, Maywall going up as the nerf shot comes down, the boops. I think we can all understand playing Reinhardt in that situation, how frustrating that could be. In your own ranked games, sure, that's going to happen all the time. But when you're playing in a team like this, that should not be happening. Those sort of like minor mistakes do add up. And I think that's why it went away in Tea&Biscuits in the end, who just looked a little bit more decisive with their actions. HSL just looked a little bit wishy-washy in a lot of different scenarios. So now they have to sort of bring it on hybrid. They do have map choice. They need to find that flare that's got them so far. They don't want to start off on the wrong foot here, as it can all very much go in the wrong direction.
Well, we're going to jump to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you map number 2 of this series between HSL and Tea&Biscuits. Don't go. Well, welcome back to Overwatch Contenders Trials Season 3. We're in the final week. Of course, this is day 1. We've only got one game to show you today. It's HSL Esports versus Tea&Biscuits, who are leading this series 1-0 at the moment after some C9 shenanigans from HSL Esports, shall we say, on that first map of Nepal. We're going to jump into our second map, which is, of course, Hollywood. And this is HSL's choice. Ryan, can you think of any reason why they might want to pick this over Eichenwald?
Have a bit more freedom, really. I guess there's a fair Philion, who is a very good Pharah, probably one of the strongest, potentially in trials, especially those that came through Open Division, I'd say. So maybe they're just aware of that, and maybe Hollywood's just more practice for them, well-versed. And you can sort of tell by the comp that they're wanting to run when we get onto screen. They're running effectively dive with a Sombra. At least that's what they've lined up. They might change as they go out, but it seems that they're very much convinced and wanting to run this. So maybe that's exactly why. Hollywood is much more open for that. They can use the high ground on the second point, for example. But I think Sombra is quite good being able to get in and around the first point and try to find an avenue there, I feel.
You're going to be trying to get onto this map and come back into the series because, I mean, we've seen enough of these games, Ryan, to know that if you go into the halftime 2-0 down, it's not looking good for you because even a tie will eliminate you from winning the series. So it's all about making sure you go in equal for HSL Esports as they go on their offense first. They've already had a change in crown drop from that Winston onto the Reinhardt, and they're going to move him forward. Of course, they've got that Zarya to back him up. So it looks like just goats coming out for HSL if they want to take this point by force. They move on to Tea&Biscuits, who have conceded so much ground to them. They have to respect it. They're going to the goats versus goats matchup. Only difference being HSL have brought a Zenyatta to the party. Tea&Biscuits, they haven't. So they're going to shred through these tanks a little bit faster in theory. I see the HP bars of HSL Esports suffering more than Tea&Biscuits. So no casualties there. It's just a bit of a stalemate for the time being.
And Lynx almost has a Graviton, so he's throwing out a chunk of damage. Balmaster is well ahead, getting his Earth Shatter in that 1v1 battle. Does look like Lynx and Tea&Biscuits going to be able to hold on. Coalescence comes out to keep people up. Transcendence is matched though, so this is going to get very scrappy.
Lynx throws in that Graviton Surge, and well, we're going to have one coming out from Zeke as well as they cut through him. Double Flame Strike for Crandop. That's going to be enough for HSL Esports to take this point nice and easy after a slow and difficult start, shall we say.
We saw Ashcroft and Hedan both using their support ultimates to stay alive. Webster was nowhere near the Tea&Biscuits on this defense. So that's how HSL were able to stay alive during the whole Graviton and everything going on there. And then you had them just envelop Tea&Biscuits when Zyke used his own Graviton in that case. So huge ultimates. I think HSL were much more patient. Their comp is very much more aggressive. We're already seeing Tea&Biscuits trying to hold off in this doorway and immediately back up. They're going up the cafe. They're going to jump on top of it.
They're going to swing back around the B a little bit sneaky. Huge shatter for Crandop into the ult from Tech36. And Tea&Biscuits, their plan backfired just a tad there, Ryan.
Just a little bit. Just cleared it up nicely. And that's the issue with like what Tea&Biscuits are sort of hoping to do. They want to take fights early. But the issue is if you get sort of team wipe like that, the payload's going to still keep moving. And Tea&Biscuits never really used any ultimates in that fight. Philion changed it up at Tara, actually. HSL Esports used a couple of different things. But ultimately, the payload's still going to be moving. There's time for Tea&Biscuits to have a couple more engagement. And Roten has the Diva Bomb ready to sort of split up HSL Esports, where if they're running this composition, that could spell disaster.
Self-destruct over the top, forcing some space out there. The change over to Pharah is going to be quite advantageous. New Pharah, at least, is very good at breaking shields if she can stay alive. Tech36 made sure that wasn't the case. Sound barrier being used as Zeke has that Graviton Surge ready to go. He's going to hold on to it and going to concede his life because HSL Esports have already called for a reset.
And Tea&Biscuits didn't really have to use an awful lot in that situation. I like this composition at the run in. Philion on one of his like choice picks as we highlighted very early on in this map. But the triple tank makes this very interesting. Webster, of course, Pharmacy is a great combo. It's nice to see Mercy back in these iterations at least. HSL Esports still on the same comp. Maybe they're just trying to brute force it. Will they change up stuff onto a vertically heavy part of the map? Who knows, but they have the option in case they need it. Hedan getting picked up to Roten Baby Diva might be a good idea to sort of push them through.
Well, not really when you can res and instantly get that mech back because of how the resurrection works. So Roten's now back in the mech a lot quicker than he might have been. Going to throw that Earth Shatter down into the shield. Graviton Surge pulling them all together. Philion not in position to really capitalize. They're just putting bullets straight into Tech36's mech. He's going to throw out an ultimate. Try and clear the skies. Bought some respite for HSL Esports. They're fighting in the corner with the tanks. taking out multiple members of Tech 36 with the micro missiles on to Fillion. Going to take him out of the skies. Just leaves Webster to sustain Rosen, but he can't resurrect him. He's dead. It's going to be HSL Esports pushing forward.
But HSL Esports don't have any support ultimates. There might be time for one more engagement out of Tea&Biscuits, although you can see that HSL Esports are effectively blocking the door with all the tanks they have. Rally gets used just in case, but it might be useful for this next engagement. Doesn't look like Tea&Biscuits are going to be able to touch the point. Oh, wait, no, we have a little Zenyatta of all people touching the point.
They went for the contest. They're throwing the ult out at ground level. Fillion, that is... That's someone else, buddy. You're on ground level. Everyone can kill you while you're trying to do that. HSL Esports throwing down that Graviton Surge. The ult rate charge is quite high this game. Going to use it to cut through the rest of Tea&Biscuits, force out the final phase of this map, and they're going to have 3 minutes 30 to do it.
Tea&Biscuits did a really good job of being able to force HSL Esports to use a couple more ultimates, but they do have an Earth Shatter, Mini Conga being stalled out just a little bit more, spells it quite nicely out for HSL Esports that just have time. They can take a bit of a breather. They don't really have huge ultimates themselves, so it's good to rely a lot on maybe Webster's Valkyrie to keep people alive in an engagement, but it's an Earth Shatter versus Earth Shatter, which are pretty big ultimates when you're running these comps. It could be the difference between being able to team wipe or just looking a little bit silly. That synergy with a shield bash from Gita is also incredibly important. Let's see how both these teams try and manage it.
See, here's the problem, and never ever do that again, Valmaster. By standing on the payload, you can get Earth Shattered underneath the payload and underneath your shield, and so your team is exposed. That
Maybe
was
he just
totally
wasn't expecting at that point. That's
Valmaster.
how it felt. It was just a very explosive attack almost that they weren't expecting it. But the payload's still moving along. Tea&Biscuits need to find something to touch and contest this point and win it back.
Well, it's going to be very difficult for them. They do have ultimates available. Valmaster can use his Earth Shatter. He's forced out. He's separated from his team. He's on the back line, away from the point. The Transcendence in between him and his own team, keeping HSL alive. Casualty started coming. Crandog has been fed for Valmaster, but that's more important. Valmaster did use his Earth Shatter as well in that engagement. I didn't see many outcomes for it. We're going to have to move onto this point, but Tea&Biscuits, they have control, and they've got 2 more minutes to burn.
I think he was killed as he was doing it, so he didn't actually go on through, so a bit of a difficult situation, trying to work out what's going wrong. They do have a Graviton and a Self-Destruct on the side of Tea&Biscuits, and the Transcendence, so it looks like they're in a good spot to hold this payload just a little bit longer, if not for the full duration of the rest of this map. I think that was an Eaton.
That was definitely an Eaton grab, Ryan. You're not wrong. Self-destruct goes in afterwards, only finding Zeke. He's just going to stand there, hold down that left click. Valmaster goes in with the charge, but Crandog counters, taking him out straight afterwards, getting a little bit of revenge in there. Self-destruct over the top. Crandog again with the kill on Civilian. Earth Shatter as he walks out the corner, multiple members down. Transcendence comes in at the nick of time for Mini Kunga, keeping everyone topped up. And Crandog again with a charge on the links. They want a payload. They're pushing forward. A couple of members left in the Discord orb. It's going to shred through Robertson. Webster's going to go down as well. The rate of production coming out of this ballroom is not going to match how fast they're being consumed by HSL Esports. It looks like they're going to walk this one in. They just need to get an edge. One more kill should do it onto Links. He takes out Zeke on that Doomfist. Swing the hammer, and you've done it. HSL Esports got to complete the map off the back and shoulders of Crandog's heavy lifting.
Some really solid Reinhardt played there too. And overall, I'd say HSL are doing a really good job of alienating Valmaster from the rest of Tea&Biscuits. Like, as far as being in the back line, they've completely separated the Reinhardt from there. But just the almost overzealous nature of how the Reinhardt charges have been coming in, for example, have been really interesting from Tea&Biscuits. They're trying to apply that, trying to sort of take the fight to HSL Esports. But I'd say HSL are doing a much better job of being disciplined and trying to alienate the Reinhardt from the rest of his team. Because as soon as you get that first pick onto the main tank, the rest of the GOATs comp will fall apart. Like those GOATs that, you know, you shout at them, they go really static and fall on the floor. It's kind of like that almost.
Yeah, it's a House of Cards scenario when it comes to GOATs compositions. You lose one and the others are still topped up. Well, you're pretty much donezo at that point and looking at resetting and thinking about next fight. So HSL Esports, 1 minute 5 in the time bank. So we know that if Tea&Biscuits completes in overtime, they're not going to get another attempt if they are even able to complete this map, because it will just be a case of HSL going on the offense for 33%. Dangerous times for Tea&Biscuits. They need to be decisive and get a conclusive win on this attempt, shall we say. Otherwise, they could find themselves going in with a tie, or at least losing this map and having an equal series at the half.
It's important that they try and keep hold of this. And speaking of keeping hold, HSL Esports are running a very interesting composition. It's Orisa. We don't get to see an awful lot of her. We also see Sadis on the Junkrat, Zyke on the Sombra. we don't really have like a main support. There's no Lucio Mercy. It's just going to be Brigitte and Hidan on the Zenyatta. So it's an interesting composition. It's very much anti-dive. So I'm interested to see if Tea&Biscuits fall right into it, as they are also running a very interesting composition with one support. Oh no, Mini Kung is actually going to switch over to the Zen, of course. But we are seeing Fillion on the Pharaoh with no Mercy to pocket him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does in the air. But this comp from HSL Esports, quite like it. It's nice to see.
It's a nice bit of flex coming out as Zyke already taking Fillion to half HP. He's going to get topped up again, and he has the safety of that translocator to get himself back in. But he's going to go for a scouting mission, just make sure they're fully aware of what's going on. He's just harassing them as well. He may as well if he has the safety of that translocator. Tea&Biscuits changing out Valmaster, staying on that Winston. They got links to go over to the Sombra as well. So we've had some changes knowing what they're running into against HSL.
And it almost feels that that's going to be worse into the comp that HSL are running. Like, Tea&Biscuits taking a while to get started up to engage, trying to find a dive, and it's very difficult running into a reset and Junkrat. So Fillion and the rest have to be very careful with who they try and pick out here.
They tried to dislodge the Orisa, they managed to do just that, but they're moving from upstairs to downstairs onto the point. Fillion going low, will go back up to the heavens. So close to getting Ashkoff, is going to go down, so they've taken out the Brigitte. Already they're hacked out the sky, though. Fillion's just going to be walking. He's going to be a bit of a problem instead of flying up. Kills are being traded, but it's looking to go in favor of Tea&Biscuits. At first capture, looking to come nearly as quick as HSL's did.
The issue with the comp that HSL were running, when you have an Eraser, for example, is once they get to you, it's very difficult to get them off. So you could tell that Tea&Biscuits were taking their time, just throwing in a lot of damage, trying to find a pick. And by the time that Tea&Biscuits were at the front door of the cafe and right over the heads of HSL Esports, from the Pharaoh's perspective at least, there was very little they could do apart from wait for the EMP and try to get a pick. But by then, it was already too late. Zyke switched over to Widowmaker, already got a pick onto Mini Kunga. Their composition has changed up quite dramatically to a more traditional dive. Basardis is still on the Junkrat because he wants to use this Riptire, as it's so good at getting a pick.
And this is the kind of change-up I wanted to see on the previous map when it came to this second stage. You've got these long sight lines enabled purely by the second section of this map, and they just weren't utilized last round. This time, immediately, HSL, they had the time to get Zeke or Zyke onto this Widowmaker. And also, you can see Fillion taking the gamble with the Hanzo, looking for the duel. Zyke, again, doing work, taking out Fillion. They're going to see in that Transcendence, with Zyke so far away from the opposing team, he's getting damage boosted. Nice little spin round to avoid the headshot. Webster going to keep himself alive and bring Fillion back into the fight. Go for the headshot again, tagged out a couple of times, pulls out the infrasites. Now they have all the information, but the brawl on the floor is going in favor of Tea&Biscuits. They keep marching on forward, regardless of what Zyke's doing with this Widowmaker.
Tea&Biscuits had to use a few ultimates. None of them were massively impactful, but Webster's going to be the one that finishes off the fight, as his Valkyrie ends up finishing themselves. We had EMP used and also Primal Rage on the side of Tea&Biscuits. HSL Esports are also switching up their comp to that triple tank, triple support. They're going to sort of bull rush the objective, just try and run through whoever's on it. So it might be difficult for Tea&Biscuits to go through here when they don't have an EMP to shut this down.
High ground control being given over to Tea&Biscuits, so Hanzo can just plant arrows into this beefy HSL lineup. He drops down lower, still putting him in. About to get that Dragon Strike as well. They can clear this out very quickly. This gets a bit more ult charge, send it straight on the payload if he wants to. They're going to back out because I think they realize with Battlemaster going down, this is a lost fight. They've got the time to play with. Let's go again.
And they have ultimates ready for this next engagement. And hell, Lynx might even have an EMP ready with the amount how quickly some of these Sombras can get their ultimate. HSL Esports just, took the objective because they're high sustain and it's very difficult for Tea&Biscuits to find a breakthrough. So they're just going to stall out. Roten here eventually does go down. There's just over 2.5 minutes on the clock, ready to sort of push this engagement. But HSL Esports have the payload in a nice position. They have full control and they know exactly where Tea&Biscuits may be coming from.
They give over high ground control. Hidan, getting a half HP, but will heal himself back up again. Look at the angle. They'll send it straight through the saloon. We'll get Flame Strike. It's going to cause a split as Valmaster went in. But where's the rest of his team? A little bit split on the side of Tea&Biscuits, not going in as a combined unit. And, well, not as clean and efficient as they wanted to. But they're still going to commit to this push. Zyke, I'm going to have his colleague hacked next to him. Transcendence there. Eaton grab again. Coming out from that hungry Roten. He's got a self-destruct of his own to throw if he wants to use it into the mix. Hidan using the coalesce, he's going to spray through, but it's Fillion's arrows that are really landing on the HSL rather than that beam of light that's coming out from Hidan. It's just one palm to the back of the head. That punch from an angry monkey should do the trick. Tea&Biscuits will move into the final section of this map.
That Graviton Heat sort of turned the fight almost. It could have been the difference there for Tea&Biscuits. They do have another Dragon Strike. That's how the fight started. And now Fillion's just going to be at the front door as HSL awkwardly make their way back to their new spawn room.
It's the split spawn. They're just squatting, Ryan. They're squatting in that new place and they've been evicted straight away. I don't know what else you want from it. It's such an unfortunate situation to find yourself in when you're on the defensive side on this map.
Yeah, Fillion had Monopoly on it, and he has a Dragon Strike. He's going to use it very early on, now that he knows where HSL are going to be. So this comp is going to get split up awkwardly, doesn't get any picks. So now HSL do have an opportunity. They're just going to drop onto the point, like literally land on it. Don't think we'll see a slam dunk earth shot, but near enough as he gets the sort of hit onto Fillion.
Those slam dunks are always risky, and now he's been hacked out and no shield. They're just going to spray through him. You swing the hammer, it's all you can do. Crandop stays alive, plays around the terrain, keeps himself nice and healthy. HSL Esports putting the brakes on the Tea&Biscuits train for now.
They did really well to survive a Dragon Strike. It was smart thinking from Fillion, but it didn't eventually get his team anywhere. And just from there, HSL knew that they could take the high ground, drop onto the point. Maybe Tea&Biscuits weren't really expecting it. But now Lynx has an EMP. It's a really good ultimate against HSL's team. Considering that HSL have half of their ultimates, this could instantly interrupt us. There you go.
That's gone. Super unfortunate for HSL, and the bricks have been taken out. The hydraulics have been cut. Tea&Biscuits pushing forward. When he couldn't get the first person to get a kill onto Zyke, you can see all the ultimates available there on the side of HSL Esports. Even Tea&Biscuits know what's happening when it comes to the ult charge now, as Rotun going to pick up a kill. Valmaster again putting a name for himself as Lynx and Webster going to take out Tex36 and Ashkoff, moving down to that home stretch.
25 seconds different between the times now, but it's going to be difficult for Tea&Biscuits to push the payload through within 25 seconds unless HSL just refuse to get onto the point. So I think ultimate's used, Rally is ready for HSL, and they do have a grab, so they want to use this and probably play the point.
Lynx is already dead. He got a little bit too close to Ashkoff and suffered a bit from Tinnitus. Tea&Biscuits going to back off and try again. Ryan, if they go under a minute, it's absolutely fine. If they hit overtime, that's when the problems begin to kick in. And that 1 minute can go very quickly, especially considering they have a defensive ultimate. And they got the self-destruct and shatter available for HSL.
It's going to be so difficult for Tea&Biscuits to be able to do this. That's a big shout for the Transcendence.
Nice response from Mini Kunga though.
Nice
Comes in very early with the Transcendence. You can see there's Lynx on the backside. He's about to get his EMP of his own. Self-destruct into the Graviton Surge. Can only shield so much as Roten will go down. The rest of Tea&Biscuits forcing on through. Sardis, the only person alive at the moment. Crandrop's going to come out with this Hammond and stall for time, but he's going to walk straight into an EMP of Lynx if he's not careful. They're going to get the capture, and they did it with a fraction of time back remaining. They're going to get another attempt at this offense.
About 29 seconds, so they do get an extra 30 seconds to sort of add it up to a minute. Exactly, yep. And 1 minute 36, a little bit extra time for HSL to work with. So both teams have an opportunity to win this one out. I wouldn't say it's enough of an advantage for HSL Esports to be the clear winners of this one, just going up this. Stranger things have happened, but it does really highlight, if you're an attacking team, what are you going to run? You need to take the point quickly. You need to get ultimates quickly. So do you go for the, you can't really pick like a Zarya, for example, because it takes so long to get ramped up. So do you go for those, like a Widowmaker to get those picks without having ultimates? Or a hero like Sombra that can get her ultimate fairly quickly? Lots of questions that need to be asked for both sides, because on the defense, you need to prepare for almost everything at that rate.
I'm just going to link back to what you said there. Stranger things that happened. Do you know what the strangest thing out of this entire Contenders Trials weekend is? That Oshtek, who are currently on a 0-5 record, can still qualify for Contenders if they just win both their series and some other shenanigans happen around. Like, 2-5 gets you into Contenders, and that's the bar. Hey, Tea&Biscuits, they're 1-4 at the moment. They win this series. Like I said, you can get in on a 2-5 scoreline, and going 2-0 up into the half is going to be big for them. HSL Esports, they've hit that threshold. It's all about building that gap and denying others from catching up for them. And they've got a time advantage, but that's all they have in this series so far.
Oh, they've been very aggressive on this defense. But the thing about HSL Esports is if they realistically want to go for Contender Season 3, and they can, they're in prime position to do so, they need to be beating teams like Tea&Biscuits, right? Otherwise, they're going to end up straight back down for Contenders Trials next season. You know, it's one of those situations where they need to be beating these teams in and around them, not necessarily convincingly, but they need to show that they're better overall. We are seeing Roten on the Wrecking Ball. I love watching this hero. Going to see this engagement, try and dive into the back line. Ideally looking for Hedan. He's always seems to be the target for Tea&Biscuits, but all of this time's been wasted. 15 seconds left.
Yeah, this is going to be a one and done push for Tea&Biscuits. They have to get it right on their first attempt. William with the fire up into the skies. Krandop's already taken out Lynx. They're missing a DPS. They've lost the Hammond as well. This is going all wrong for Tea&Biscuits as they're going to bring Lynx back into the fight, but they can't bring another member back as Lynx is going to take out Krandop, try and equalize the playing field. They're going to buy some more time for the reinforcements coming from Tea&Biscuits. So this one and done, they brought a second wind into it because Valmaster can get back into the fight unless HSL just going to end it right now, push him off the point altogether. They can't get the Wrecking Ball to touch. 0% ult charge coming in. This could end in a tie going into the halftime unless we see something biblical coming out from the attackers this time around.
Prime position for HSL Esports to be in to rack up the scores to 1-0 before halftime. Not all said and done, but you have to say it was really well done for HSL Esports. Kind of a missed opportunity for Tea&Biscuits that ran this very like poke heavy composition with the Farah, with the Wrecking Ball that only touched the point 45 seconds after they got out the front door. So there was a lot of time just waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a way to dive onto the point. And in all that time, they just really struggled to get a pick. And they only had time for one engagement because they wasted so much time just waiting for, let's try and find who we could dive on. Is there an opportunity? Could we get a pick? Could we get into position? They just didn't really have the time to run a composition with a tempo that slow.
Yeah, when you know that you've only got one attempt at max to come into this, like you want to get that information and then go in. You correctly said there, they were just waiting. They wanted to gather every ounce of data that they can before they pulled the trigger, knowing that he only had one shot at it. And that wait time ultimately cost him. They wanted to run him blind. They probably could have done it twice and maybe got in there with the one and done. But it's not going to happen this time around for their offense. HSL Esports, however, I don't think they're going to go for the scout. I think they're going to bring out the goats and try and just run over Tea&Biscuits when it comes to this offensive push.
It's just an all-purpose composition that works. Defending
Oh, look at this from Tea&Biscuits! They're dropping down off the top of the awning. They want to fight him right outside their spawn room, but it might be a huge mistake as Valmaster and Fillion have gone down. They've just conceded the point to HSL Esports. They threw themselves off the balcony and they threw themselves off the map. Tea&Biscuits giving it over to HSL Esports. We're going into the halftime with things all tied up.
It went down, but it was a blaze of glory right at the end. 1-0 for both teams. HSL looking more solid on Hollywood than they did on the Powell, for example. Looking a little bit more convincing in different fashions. There wasn't much between the two teams. So I'm really excited to see how Assault and Escort go for the next two maps, both of which count dramatically for not only winning this map, but map standings down the line. It could be the difference between some of these teams going up and some of them not going anywhere. So I'm really excited to see where this goes because either team could take this.
Absolutely. And you got to remember as well, Ryan, it's not so much today where it becomes impactful. I mean, there are consequences to what happens today, but we really get into the nitty gritty of the map difference tomorrow when those final standings are being decided about who goes in, because so many teams have close score lines moving into this final week that even if Tea&Biscuits now win this series, they've already conceded one map. That one map difference might be enough to swing it. Swing the difference between a place in Contenders or missing out again this season. So I don't know, but I have to give them credit. They knew their backs were against the wall. They wanted to try something different. It just didn't play off well for them, and it just gave HSL the win there. And we're going to have an equal series moving into the half. But we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to throw it over to our analysts who are going to break down that series so far.
Thank you, Trid and Ryan. What a great series so far, 1-1. We got a spicy one on our hands, folks. So let's go ahead and break down what we just saw. So map number 1 was Nepal. And, something we talked about in the pregame was very tank and support specific. And let's go ahead and go back to that, kind of analyze how it's gone so far. So earlier we said, hey, the supports are, really versatile in both teams. Krandop's playing, a newer tank, but he has been there for those 3 wins. Are we seeing anything that we said in that pregame kind of come to fruition, Panda, right now?
I think we're definitely seeing some of it come to life in those maps. It's hard to specifically say that about HSL coming off of their village map. Maybe a little bit too much of that speed onto the Mei, some misplaced walls, some mistimed cooldowns led to their unfortunate defeat on those Nepal rather. But we're definitely seeing it come to life for sure. Krandop is definitely coming into his own. Those 3 wins that they are coming off hot from that win streak is definitely by way of methodical tank play. That's not to definitely discount how well they actually looked on their 3-3 composition, specifically when they're running that Zenyatta on attack that we just previously saw on Hollywood Boop. Really setting up Crandop wonderfully for his cleave damage, building his Earth Shatters so that way he can play and flank around at a moment's notice against the enemy team and Valmaster specifically. But you got to give your hats off to Ascoft because his ability to manage his cooldowns and to manage his phase shifts over to speed at the right moment to get Crandrop into that right moment for the perfect Earth Shatter is quite literally changing some of these 1v1s, if you will, versus the enemy Rhine.
Well, we'll get to those Grand Up Earth Shatters here in just one
Woo.
second, Panda, because there are some hot ones, some fatty shatties on Hollywood. But let's go back to LaFon. So, honestly, the way that we talked about that HSL support line, we talked about Hedan a lot, showed up on Sanctum with some really sweet, sleep darts, but so far has been a little bit quiet, honestly.
I mean, that's one of the more interesting things, right? We hyped up Hedan a lot at the top of the show, but Ascoft has been very, very quietly. Actually, no, quietly is the wrong word. Has been very much the star of the support line on his team today. The Lucio play has been pretty spectacular. The sound barrier is always there when you need it and always timed properly. So there's not to say Hedan is having a quiet day or a quiet evening is not necessarily a bad thing when you've got your second support partner doing a lot of the return work in general. So I think for HSL, there's been the timings were a little awkward on that first map, and they threw away a couple of fights that they realistically didn't need to. But coming back to Hollywood, they seem to have cleaned it up a lot more than that, and it's been a much better showing for them through that second map in terms of timings. I'm a little bit curious though as to why they've been kind of rigid in what they're running. They're playing the compositions that they want to play, but they're not really changing as necessary. They're kind of only going with what they've got, and and if it's not working, they don't even try and reassess. It's just we're going to keep going until it either works or we lose, and it's going to be a little bit interesting to see how that plays out the remainder of the match.
Yep, versatility is a skill, my friend. So let's go to Hollywood real quick, and I want to go talk about right here just one more time. I know we're kind of beating a dead horse at this point, but Crandop on that last fight on their offensive push, HSL on their first offensive push, he got 2 shatters in one fight. He fire strike through 4 people to get up to like 70% after using a big shatter, and that was kind of exactly what we were seeing, right, throughout the entirety of Hollywood.
That's kind of the entire story, right? I mean, getting big flame strikes coming from HSL Academy team up to HSL Esports here. Crandrop has shown us that methodical and really strong tank play thus far. So, in my personal opinion, yeah, he's showing up to the plate and he's hitting it out of the park so far.
Cool. Well, and then LaFon, something I also wanted to talk about because, it's really easy to talk about what we see on the screen, right? We're all watching it, but I'm asking you, what is something that we're not seeing right now that Tea&Biscuits can bring into the second half to potentially take this game?
I mean, they're not really exploiting some of the holes that are in HSL's lineup, or they didn't do it on Hollywood specifically. They did take it on Nepal as a result, but I think one of the things is they can do a better job of it. And when you see an opponent making mistakes that are, pretty glaring in terms of whether it be positioning, timings, whatever the case may be, you need to take advantage of that. And right now, both these teams are a little bit timid in how they're approaching very obvious opportunities, whether that be because they're, not wanting to give away too much. They don't want to, be the team that lose or be the player that loses the fight because you went too far. But sometimes you got to take risks to actually have a chance at winning. And right now, both these teams are playing very cautiously around some of the openings that are available to them.
So same question to you, Panda, quickly.
Well, I would definitely say that these players are playing timid. They're all chasing that prize. The players in particular for HSL Esports that you would think are a little bit stronger, specifically Zardes, Hedan, and Zeke are playing a little bit more quiet, just like my co-analyst had said. But the other players are definitely making up for that space. I can definitely see them turning around here in a moment's notice. Hollywood got hot really quickly, but HSL, they're on the up and up. They can definitely make this on a comeback win.
Well, we're going to see here in just 1 second. I thought this in my head, but Tea&Biscuits is going to choose Volskaya as it's the only assault map that they have won during Contenders so far. So we're going to come back with Trid and Ryan on the cast on Volskaya and very, very shortly, but we're going to take a quick break beforehand. See you guys soon.
I can't see clearly anymore. I have no
Welcome back, everyone. HSL versus Tea&Biscuits. The series has been tied 1 apiece before we went into the half, and like the analyst desk said, Volskaya Industries being that next map we're about to run onto. I believe HSL Esports going to be on defense first. It's up to Tea&Biscuits to take out this offense. So Ryan, let's start by talking about what HSL are bringing to the table to bring this defense first.
It's a difficult one because I haven't seen a lot of Volskaya Industries, but they're running effectively the same composition that they try to run defending Hollywood. So they're going to perch on that high ground right by the point. Tea&Biscuits chose this map. They must have a strategy in place. Valmaster is currently on the Orisa. Don't know if he'll dedicate fully to it or whether they'll change as they always do. Right now, Tea&Biscuits just sort of playing a bit of a mixy strategy. Wanted to potentially run dive from the looks.
Well, Tea&Biscuits have the luxury of choice. They can look at what HSL has got, and they're right next to their spawn rooms. They can change up if they need to. It's going to be very advantageous, but they're just sending Links in. He's obviously gone behind him, scouted out the full picture, and fed that information back to Tea&Biscuits because Minikunga's already gone over to that Ana rather than Zenyatta he was on. And Links is just jumping behind him. He's happy as Larry right there.
So I just try to find a pick, but Tea&Biscuits playing around it. Hat comes in from Licks or attempts to, doesn't seem to get anything. And now the dives start to come in. Can they get a pick very early on? Doesn't really look like it.
It's really difficult to move onto this death wall composition, but they give up so much control of the point. Look at this, they've already got a third, they're about to hit the second because HSL Esports are so far away from getting on the point, and now they've got the tank committal. Sardis going to take out and lead the charge with Psych and Hadan start getting kills. I believe they were able to stop Tea&Biscuits just shy of 2/3. They've only given up one piece of the pie to begin with.
Not too much, just shy of 2/3, as you said. Really well played from Zyke, who was dove on, I think, dropped down to the low ground and managed to find a pick that sort of put the fight into their favor. And that's difficult when you've got the pressure of a full dive jumping on you. Roten now switching over to the Wrecking Ball. Might be a good option. Really good against Widowmaker, but now she has sights. Now she knows that Roten is a big ball just sort of rolling around. They still try to find these picks. So right now, Tea&Biscuits need to find another avenue of operation. They have an Ana boost. They're probably going to put it at Valmaster once he can get this dive on.
Waiting for the right time to go. Could also give it to Roten potentially, just put him in the middle, but you're right, Valmaster goes in. Nice halt to step the floor of that dive. They're still going to commit to it. Self-destruct goes where that team was originally set up, but now they're fighting in the middle of a room where Transcendence fighting against them. Zyke obviously picking up the kill onto Minikunga. Villian, now knowing that this Transcendence isn't available, has a Dragon Blade he can deploy, but I have a feeling they're going to wait until they get up high, combine it with that EMP, but they're not going to find anyone as Sardis shuts it down with a Riptire. That's bad news bears for the rest of Tea&Biscuits as HSL Esports are going to shut them down again with 1 minute 35 on the clock.
Tea&Biscuits were so hesitant there. Like, they just weren't sure whether to dedicate the ultimates, the EMP and the Dragon Blade. It's kind of like, okay, the Transcendence has been used. Can we go now? It's like they knew that Sardis might have Riptide, but they still went for it anyway. So, indecisive to say the least. So far, HSL Esports have done a really good job on holding it. There wasn't even any new progression from Tea&Biscuits there, who, again, had a really long engagement and have been stalled out again from Zyke killing Webster. So now, HSL Esports are in prime position to keep holding on to this objective. Just over a minute left. They have a couple of ultimates themselves. Zyke coming up very shortly, and we know that Zyke can get those shots in and can stem these fights very, very quickly.
Crandop also has that supercharger, and if you look at the stats, supercharger has like a ridiculously high percentage win fight percentage when it is used. So you can pretty much usually back this up to HSL having a fight in their pocket just because of that supercharger. And we're looking to get into the 30 seconds time. I think Tea&Biscuits are going for one last fight. This is not looking to work against them. So they only have a sound barrier at the moment, and they're nowhere near to getting another ultimate at the start of this fight. Supercharger goes down, has been protected. Zyke has already found Valmaster. Found another one in the form of Villian, but Villian's going to take down Zyke as a parting gift to the rest of the map. They're keeping him off the point. They do have spawn advantage. They might be able to stagger this out, but Ashkoff has just come in with the D-Mech and the kill on to the Diva. I don't know if Tea&Biscuits have got enough time to get a coordinated push here. This might be a full hold coming out from HSL.
Well, near enough, 61% on the point, so it's not just played for a third. We do get to see overtime as Valmaster and Webster managed to touch the point, but nobody's really on it now. It's going to be really tough to fight who's on the high ground and also keep touching the point. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to do it now, or it is with a Hammond rolling in at the last second, but it doesn't look like it's going any further for Tea&Biscuits here.
That's going to be a shutdown coming in from HSL Esports. So Volskaya could prove to be a very quick map here, Ryan. No point B shown so far, and we won't even need to see point B for a completion of this map because 62%, that's the benchmark coming in for Tea&Biscuits to defend against. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's not looking good for them. HSL should be able to take this map and go 2-1 in the series.
Especially considering that Tea&Biscuits chose this map too. It's not looking as good as they wanted to. So now there's a lot of pressure for them to be able to full hold or even where they want to take the map next if they lose this one. So not really going the way that they want. HSL Esports running that composition again with the Arisa, Junkrat, and Widowmaker. And surprising to see how effective it is. One thing that I noticed in that game is Sardis only had one Riptire. And that's not because he wasn't killing stuff. He definitely was. He was getting those eliminations, but it wasn't necessary for him to do a lot of damage, right? There wasn't a lot to be done. It's not as if you're running that into tanks. I think it was more in preparation. If Tea&Biscuits decided to run a triple tank, triple support, that's a lot of meaty targets to get upcharged from. But Sardis just didn't need to do a lot of damage. He was, you know, getting the eliminations that were needed, but wasn't throwing out loads of damage to get his ultimate. So he wasn't really needed. Like, it was fairly straightforward for HSL on that defense.
Are you trying to say that
mostly
HSL
Zyke.
fought 5v6 that round?
Not so much that Sardis didn't perform. It was just that, like, he never really had the opportunity to, because Zyke was either getting us eliminations early, or Tea&Biscuits were just taking their time so much that he was, you know, just checking his watch. Waiting
Right, I got you. I've got a way to make this simpler, okay? So imagine a 6-man tandem bicycle. Sardis was just putting his feet up while everyone else was pedaling. He was there, he was helping to steer, but he wasn't, like, actually engaged full 100%.
But saying that Riptide was the deciding factor whether they held the point or whether they went on to point B, because it did look like Tea&Biscuits were able to take that when that Dragon Blade and EMP came in. So whilst he only had the one Riptire, it was probably the most important ultimate that was used in that defense. So
he pedaled when they had to go
that.
uphill. Yeah, he pedaled when they had to go uphill, and then he just lifted his feet up the rest of the time. Yeah, Sardis going to move in on the offense. Hopefully he does a little bit more on this Genji. He's going to have to, fighting up against Lynx on the Widowmaker. Not got a pick for the time being. Going to get some damage off. Oh, the grapple hook's been failed. He's knocked onto the ground, but he's still well away from the HSL lineup. It's all about creating that space on the Widowmaker. Not going to get himself into any danger. Filian's going to go down low, though. Sardis right up in his face, getting the resurrection out. They weren't able to punish the Mercy, but they know that's not an option for them. They're going to chase after Webster now onto this high ground. He's getting himself to safety. They've got multiple team members there, keeping them alive. They support supporting each other. Sardis with the deflect dashes back. Tech 3-6 already found 2 kills with the same booster. That's efficiency if I've ever seen it, as Roden comes in and takes out Crandot to level the playing field. Nano boost from the Tech 3-6. He's looking very low on the HP bar. 125 HP. Hat comes out, denying everything else as the EMP was big from Zyke and Tea&Biscuits. Tea&Biscuits. Looking like the biscuits crumbled in that tea, my friend.
I don't know how Biscuits would fare in these sub-zero temperatures, but it didn't really go the way that Tea&Biscuits wanted. That was their map pick. You obviously thought that because we've seen so much Hanamura that they would have a strategy for it almost. So to an extent you go, oh, they've picked Volskaya, they're going against the Grainhead. They must have something planned, but kind of fell short of any real strategy there. I'd say HSL are in prime position. We will be going to a pure escort map next. It is going to be Tea&Biscuits pick. I would assume it'd be Rialto, as that's the most popular one. But again, they might just go against the fold a little bit and decide to pick something else in order to trip HSL up. But right now, they're looking a far more superior team, pound for pound so far.
Yeah, I'm just getting it in right now. Our producer was kind enough to tell us that was the first time that Tea&Biscuits have lost Volskaya Industries in trials. So, and that looked quite handedly for HSL to win that one. So, all fair play to them. Tea&Biscuits' unbeaten map now finally proven fallible by HSL Esports as we move into the final map with a 2-1 scoreline in favor of HSL. Not really got much to break down from that map, if I'm honest with you. Quite quick, very clean from HSL. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to bring you what could be the final map of this series.
how we rock, this is how we win, this is how we roll, man.
Hold it tight. Promise that you'll never let me go, even when we fight. Wrap my arm around you, girl. I promise I won't ever let you go. I'm holding on for life. I gotta know how you feel about me. So many different emotions in my body. I gotta know what you do on our love, 'cause I'm not planning on giving you up. I think what we got going on is something special, yeah. I want to wake up with you by my side, in your arms. In your arms. Wanna wake up in your arms, your arms. There's nobody else I would rather be with but you.
Hello, hello, hello. We are on the sunny canals of, well, I'm going to call it Venice. It's actually Rialto, but that's going to be the potentially final map we have in this series, assuming the Tea&Biscuits don't equalize and force out the tiebreaker map, which is, of course, Oasis. HSL Esports going to be on defense first. So this is another Tea&Biscuits pick, and for Sky Industries, their main map didn't exactly go well for them. So I don't know what that says about the Rialto pick, but everyone's playing Rialto, so just the way things work.
Well, Tea&Biscuits are 1-4 on Rialto, so this isn't a good map for them by any stretch, but I feel like this is the king's route of pure escort, right? Because you can run all sorts of different strategies, and already HSL Esports stood right by the doorway, making sure that Tea&Biscuits can't go far. Links on the Bastion, though, going to make sure that
They knew it was coming, Ryan.
They're used to this. They've lost so many times on Rialto that, like, they're probably used to that kind of strategy. So, all right, we know how this goes. It's almost like a necessary evil, Rialto. As you sort of pointed out to me beforehand, it was played a lot in the World Cup too. Like, this is a very, very popular map, surprisingly.
But I don't think it's surprising. I really like Rialto. I think it's a really good map. So hopefully it's in the map pool for Contenders actual in Season 3, because that does differ between trials. So teams going in for the engagement already, and Tech 3-6 trying to play around the pillar, but the Bastion from Link's just too strong. They're playing a Bastion composition without planting it firmly on the payload. They're using the high ground quite well here. So Tea&Biscuits try to be creative, but when you drop down like that, you're just giving yourself to the enemy to go.
Very interesting heroes on both sides. We're going to see a Riptide actually coming out that will separate it, but Crandall
gets it!
Amazing fire strike.
Oh, Poggers with that flame strike to take out Roten. And Zyke's going to move forward with the rest of HSL. Tea&Biscuits been sent back to the spawn room. They're still committing with the Bastion, so Lynx in free ult charge off these tankier topics. Topics? Tankier heroes. What am I saying? Topics? I don't know where it came from, mate.
Just never got to play in the first week of Contenders trials, and HSL lost both their games. He came in week 2, they won all the games. You see how much of a difference that Krandov himself is making, and they're really happy with the progression. Philian has a barrage. It's very difficult to sort of go down there. You have Diva that's just going to eat everything, blow up in your face, but Ashcroft goes down. This is a great time for them to go through.
Very risky Raj coming in. You can see why Sardis just comes in with the hook. Did find Zyke in the chaos and got a kill beforehand. So HSL Esports going to try and commit to this one. Nice charge. Unable to fortify on the side of Tea&Biscuits. Here comes the configuration tank form blasting Tech 3-6 away. He's to break through the shield of Crandop. He's just holding firm. Still not going to be able to get anything done there as the charge comes out. He's in sentry form and he's just being hosed down by the Moira, trying to suck the life out of him. And Lucio comes in, bought him enough time to get into the sentry form. Unfortunately, not going to get any kills. Imagine they're very evasive as they move around to hold this choke they've had before.
How did they hold that? You had a Bastion using tank configuration into Crandop and he just stood there and took it and survived.
Yeah, because he just held up the field. The tank didn't try to outmaneuver, didn't try to flank in any capacity. He was like, I'm going to blast this shield and hopefully it breaks.
Stop, drop, and roll almost. Zyke has his Graviton and there's somebody ultimates on Tea&Biscuits side. They use Valkyrie early on. They use the Bongo from the Orisa, the supercharger. Still not really going anywhere though.
What was that graviton surge? You didn't really catch anyone. They're going to try and take out Lynx, who managed to break through the line of it, and Philly's going very low. That's a high energy Zarya firing straight at him. Rockets being hit, protected barriers there. Another barrage coming out from Philly, and he's generating these very quickly. Got to try and send it to the rest of the team. I think Tea&Biscuits are at least going to be able to get this under the bridge. They can just take out Tech 3-6. They do just that.
I wonder if HSL are going to change up their lineup. I mean, Roadhog's going to be really good anywhere near a bridge, any environmental kills that he can get. But this quad tank that they're running seems to be doing so well at stalling the point. They're going to be able to do it just before this checkpoint if Crandop cannot get pushed over the bridge. And that's a big
Self-destruct coming in. They fade behind the shield, but they're losing a crucial component of their defense to protect them from that. Self-destruct's going to buy some time, but Lynx is going to just punch straight through Ashkov into Sardis. Finally being taken down by Crandop. He's to take him out. Roten's hiding behind the shield, but he's also got part of the defense matrix available. You can't defense matrix or shield against the Coalescence. It's all about where the target's being chosen to go. Forces through the defensive line, just behind enemy territory to get the D-Mech on the Tech 3-6, but HSL Esports have pushed and moved that line of attrition and aggression straight to Tea&Biscuits with 3 seconds on the clock. Tea&Biscuits aren't in a position to contest this. They're throwing in the Meteor Strike. Where's the CC? They don't need it because the Flame Strike was good enough, and the overtime will tick down. HSL Esports are stopping Tea&Biscuits shy of point A.
They're warming up for Contenders EU. If they win this match, they put themselves in a great position by playing quad tanks, and it seemed to do really well. Hedan on the Moira, you don't really get to point out some really important plays, but the Coalescence was so well orchestrated and so well timed. They were able to win out that fight, get the picks that were needed, and stop the payload just before this first checkpoint. You'd say that this is, match point almost for HSL Esports. They don't really need to move it far. Tea&Biscuits had a lot of questions and a lot of curveballs to throw at HSL Esports, but the fact that they responded so well and sustained the point through a multitude of heavy-hitting ultimates showed to me that they are in the perfect position right now to go on and win this. They look so well prepared for all sorts of strategies. They're looking very much in pole position for this one.
They only have to hit checkpoint A. That was where it was stopped. The line drawn right on the point. They can hit it. They're going to win. So a third of this map is going to be played. And like Volskaya, Ryan, we don't get to see the entirety of the map. We know that with absolute certainty. So I feel like we're doing the the developers at Blizzard a disservice here because we're not showing off all the hard work they put in.
Maybe afterwards we could do like a scenic, like Universal Studios tour. Just get like on the payload. On your left, you can see parts of the map that we never saw before. This is where Goatscom gets used a lot. This final checkpoint, so we can take a look at that maybe afterwards. But right now, Tea&Biscuits have a lot to do. It's not out of their hands completely. It does look like they're going to be running Lynx on the Widowmaker, who is a great pick on this part of the map. But to be honest, on Rialto, a lot of heroes are really, really good. Like it's very viable for running tank comps. It's really good for running dive and all sorts of weird strategies that we've seen over the past couple of weeks. Fillion's still on the Pharah on his choice pick. HSL Esports though, Zyke's on the McCree, otherwise dive.
Tech 3-6 is on the Widow.
You only need the one tank. It's like
but Tech's been playing D.Va the entire series.
I mean, the D.Va's usually a flex pick. I mean, it tends to be, when you say you play flex.
You don't really see him flex beyond D.Va. Usually, Zyke's going to take out Lynx, so you're going to trade DPS, he's going to take out DPS. Tech 3-6, I want to see what he can do on this Widowmaker, because I don't think I've ever seen him play this. Especially
observers are even interested. You don't get to see these players, like Smex, for example. A Team UK D.Va is a really good Widowmaker too, I believe, so it is really interesting. Fillion actually get a pick onto Zyke. There's a lot of hit scans, so Fillion's going to be like sweating quite bad, but he's doing a good job of holding his own and stalling this point, contesting it for as long as possible.
Yeah, they're just going to buy more time. 3 minutes 13 still to get through if they're looking to hold on to this map. Hidan's already taken out Valmaster, so they're missing one of their tanks. Sardis has switched over and got himself on to the Sombra now. He's going to move around. Ashcroft brings Crandop back into the fight. Lynx takes out Tech 3-6, so as expected, DPS outduels the Flex who's playing DPS.
So far winning it out. Lynx just try to keep an eye on these sightlines, but HSL Esports can also do that. You have the Zenyatta. Hedan's been popping heads quite considerably so far. Tech 3-6, so it really hasn't got the picks that you may have hoped for. Zyke on the McCree is going to use High Noon and takes out Fillion in the air. This payload isn't going very far.
Fillion's been taken out of the skies. There is time for the resurrection, and Webster's going to do just that. I believe that's a hacked D.Va on the payload to contest them with. They just haven't got the numbers from HSL Esports to keep going. 2 minutes 20. Still on the clock for HSL to get this down to a victory. Tech 3-6 Nails the shot onto Lynx. They're moving through the Transcendent Self-Destruct over the top to buy some more time. Won't find anyone as they send in the Winston onto that high ground. He's got a Discord orb to help out the teams, but Primal Rage from Zyke is knocking around everyone in that small little room. Valmaster going to take out Ashkoff. Minikunga takes out Tech 3-6, so still winning the sniper duel. Tech 3-6 not having the best of luck with this. As High Noon's being used immediately into a Sleep Dark. Crandop just stood behind, riding the lightning. Lynx is obviously there to save the day.
I'm not quite sure what's going on, to be honest. Like, HSL Esports are not really playing to the strategy too well. They're going to switch up their comp a little bit. Looks to be more straightforward. Tech now getting off the Widowmaker. So much time has been wasted. Tea&Biscuits looking in full control of the point. It might be an overtime push by the end if HSL can't get their act together. Tea&Biscuits looking in a good position. They have Barrage ready. Hedan doesn't have a Transcendence just yet. Currently, we're seeing Tea&Biscuits doing a really good job of holding this objective. HSL Esports still have a lot to do. Just over a minute, left on this clock.
And when in doubt, they're going to goats it out. So no
Of
shock
course.
to me there. Going to move in with that composition. Philion's still got that barrage. Going to be able to break through that shield very nicely, using the height to his advantage, moving over to the top with no coverage, drops the barrage and rains justice down from above onto 2 out of 3 of the supports the competition offers, and takes out the mech. Tea&Biscuits going for a fast kill onto HSL Esports, but it leaves them 50 seconds for another attempt.
I think how Tea&Biscuits set themselves up for this next engagement is important. You can see each part of the puzzle moving around, trying to find an objective point on the map. Link's trying to get a headshot for a very narrow opening, but it wasn't enough. But he does have sights from now on to try and get a pick, but it's difficult when you have the Reinhardt with a big shield. But he then goes down of all things.
And he had the Transcendence in his pocket.
Yeah.
They're going to have to back off quick. They can't lose anyone else here and get Hedan back into the fight with that Transcendence. Otherwise, Tea&Biscuits, against the odds, the benchmark they set themselves, it's not looking like they're going to be able to push through here. HSL Esports losing bodies with 15 seconds on the clock. They need to hard reset and not commit ultimates, but Hedan's come in with the Transcendence already being used, and they've lost multiple members. No one's getting return kills apart from Ashkoff onto Minikunga, who's gone down, but they still haven't dealt with Billion's Farah. He's in the sky, breaking through shots, takes out Tech 3-6 after the D-Mech comes through. Overtime is still available, spawn advantage in the favor of HSL, but no one's dying on the side of Tea&Biscuits. They're unable to touch it. They're trying to send the soldier in for even greater of a stagger as they get tanks in. Psych gets 1 kill onto Lynx, but 1 kill is not enough. They're still contesting, buying more time. They've got Hidan on there with the Moira fading away. Resurrection brings Lynx back into the fight as Billion will take him out. They get Diva in position. Zarlis on the soldiers looking to sprint in there. Self-destruct will take out Valmaster. Resurrection's already been used. The D-Mech from Tech 3-6 going to buy some more time. Overtime ticks down. HSL Esports. We're going to map 5.
HSL Esports, not like this. That's not the way that they wanted this to go. And what makes it even worse is that Tea&Biscuits won the control map on the PAL earlier on. So you'd have to say that the advantage has completely swung around into Tea&Biscuits' favor. Like, granted, it's a very different control map, but man, HSL Esports must have been thinking that they could have done better than that. But really well played from Tea&Biscuits to full hold. It was a lot to ask for. Their, morale must be pretty low at that point, but they managed to turn it around. Now they have a full, solid chance of winning this one.
Tea&Biscuits have a very good opportunity to be able to pull that one off, and I don't know what to say. HSL, they just kind of dropped the ball in that final offense. That is an entirely winnable situation. I think that the composition they tried to initially run wasn't successful, and they should have identified that sooner and mixed it back off to tank-heavy compositions. But we don't know. Tea&Biscuits might just be really good at defending Rialto now. They had a creative strategy on offense. All up in the air for them. We're going to move on to that 5th and final map. It's going to be Oasis. That is our tiebreaker. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be in the conclusion of this series. Sunny Oasis is where we're going to end this series. HSL Esports versus Tea&Biscuits. And I'd like to say that Tea&Biscuits gave HSL a good match that time, but I honestly think HSL kind of defeated themselves in that previous round, Ryan.
If that happened in Contender Season 3, there are so many other teams that would take advantage of that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I heard it a lot when my football team that I support went up to the Premier League, Hull City. Just there were so many opportunities that they should have done, like scored goals or saved goals, and it's just, those bigger teams will completely punish moments like that. And HSL Esports really did drop the ball. Tea&Biscuits have a good opportunity to make them pay for it. So now they're going to be running Soldier on this point. He's amazing, I find, just being able to use the high ground, but Zyke this time going to be on the left-hand side, gets picked very, very early.
He's amazing, Ryan, but he wasn't using the high ground, so he just got picked off by Lynx straight away, and now Tea&Biscuits going to run through HSL. Looks like they're going to get that first cap as well.
It's like changing over straight away. HSL might be changing up their composition. You have to think that if Tea&Biscuits manage to win this in a 3-2 fashion, then it's more on HSL. But Tea&Biscuits have been playing pretty consistently throughout all of the maps. It was only Volsky where it looked fairly one-sided. So there's not a lot to tell between these teams. HSL Esports moving over to triple tank, triple support. Lynx is on the high ground, has a high noon fairly close and really wants to use it.
Getting close, 93%. HSL aren't giving him the opportunity, aren't giving him the angles. They're playing around the terrain, knowing that he's up in the sky. Here he goes, going to check his watch. Everyone's behind the shield. Going to be able to get a kill there because Philly's just going to break through Crandop. So it's good to zone away the support on the rest of his team. Tea&Biscuits still maintain control, 30% and ticking.
And Lynx is doing a really good job. Like, I think once you can get these kind of players like Lynx, I've heard of another Contenders Trials player refer to him as a young Askins, which I think is a huge recommendation. But Lynx is just one of those players that can really pop off on Widowmaker on all forms of hit scan, and is looking very much in control. The area that McCree is good in, his effective range, suits so nicely to all sorts of control maps, but especially this point on Oasis. So far so good for Tea&Biscuits. HSL Esports need to use these ultimates, start and rotating, and think of a strategy.
He's got another roll. 24 hours has passed incredibly quickly for Lynx as he's hiding everyone behind that corner. Just pulls the trigger a fraction too late to get himself that kill as they bobble weave behind that cover. Coalescence going to cut them out and try and flush out the rest of these rats as HSL looking for the flips. They have the bullet, they have the positional they have positional control. They got thrown away as they're trying to take the fight to Tea&Biscuits, sitting in a transcendent. Self-destruct goes all the way to the back. Will get Fillion as he's not closer to that explosion. Wasn't quite able to block it out. Now they're just being thrown around by these hands. Valmaster up into the sky, using that high ground for a little bit of support. HSL Esports, they've definitely got a kill advantage here. They've got the flip. This should be them flipping the point back over. 95% on the flip though, Ryan. One lost fight will lose them this round.
But they do have two big ultimates. They have the Graviton and the Earth Shatter, which are great of just instantly finishing up those fights. Ideally, you want Crandop to use the Earth Shatter first, and then use the Graviton afterwards, so that Crandop can use that to generate another Earth Shatter, right? So it's going to be interesting how they rotate it. He uses it first, but it's actually going to be HSL Esports to clear up fairly quickly, and they're going to be looking that way.
Nice defensive hold. Only one ult committed, so they're going to be able to have themselves more in the pocket for further attempts by Tea&Biscuits. Getting closer and closer to matching that percentage and potentially taking this first round away. I'm going to keep saying it, Ryan. They lose that one fight. That's enough for Tea&Biscuits to take this round. So playing on their edge, and they're playing smart, calm, and collected. They're not overcommitting ults to these fights. This is exactly what they can't do in this instance.
I think when you're running this comp, ult rotation is the most important factor. They're going to win this one out already by the looks of it. Dedicating Coalescence and getting first pick of the Valmaster is enough to clear up the rest of this objective. Tea&Biscuits, it's difficult to find an ultimate with this composition other than EMP, which is slowly racking up Pavilion. This is going to completely clear HSL Esports up in a big fashion. So 63% on the point for those, 2/3 of the objective taken in their favor. And they still have that Graviton. No need to use it yet. Crandop is halfway to having another Earth Shatter. So they're rotating ultimates in a fashion that really suits them. And they're looking in pole position to keep hold of this point.
Okay, HSL Esports about 2 fights out. Lynx is going to get that Meteor strike, so Tea&Biscuits need to move fast a bit. Seismic slam into the back line. No target assassinated. Good. Got the Meteor strike immediately. Finding someone to drop down onto. Changing the angle as he goes into the middle of him. Crandall! No reaction to that. Will be taken out. Can't shield that meteor strike that comes in behind you. EMP gonna shut Zyke out of the fight, so using the ults quite well here, layering them nicely. Sardis fighting back with the kill onto Link's Amphibian. They've taken the bite out of HSL Esports. They just need to get their own back into this fight and really go for the run. 95% and ticking. Valmaster with these hands, but two supports, they're very slippery. The Lucio and the Moira can get on there to contest. As Crandop comes back in with a kill onto Mini Kunga, Valmaster finally finds Ashcroft with good enough time for reinforcements to come in. So 99% to 99% overtime. This is the final fight of this round as Tech 36 takes out Lynx, looking to open it up.
It feels like an eternity ago, but this is following the same pattern as it did on the PAL that started off the day. Just these slow engagements coming through. HSL Esports just having the high sustained, keep themselves alive. They had the coalescence, keep everybody up, and it looks like they're going to be able to take the point. Both teams scrapping out. Mini Kunga actually getting picks just as he did on the PAL. It's coming full circle now in the circle of City Centre on Oasis. They still just to be there. But HSL Esports are not giving this up. They want to keep this point.
Lynx coming in with that Wrecking Ball. Anything to get to the point faster. Control is in the favor of Tea&Biscuits, but there's still bodies enough to contest this point. Hedar getting the kill. Stunned up Lynx. A Wrecking Ball comes in from Crandop. He wants to get to the point as well. Sound Barrier being used by Tea&Biscuits will not be able to keep all of them alive. Still, the man advantage in favor of HSL Esports as Lynx gets a return kill onto Zyke. Valmaster could be down going low. Lynx walks onto the point just to get killed himself, and the train being used by Valmaster in the height to keep him away from that coalescence wasn't good enough because they sent their own bodies to go and flush him out of the rafters. Point control going over to HSL, but they need to get the bodies off the point. Transcendence is going to stall this one out over time, not looking to end anytime soon because they're just layering the abilities and ultimates to keep people in the fight.
Wow. Every time that I saw that HSL Esports were clearing the kill feed in their name, Hidan was coalescing. There's some high impact coalescences coming through, and HSL Esports, they looked in dire straits once that point had gone up 95% in Tea&Biscuits' favor, but they had the resolution to keep hold of the point and to take it in their favor. Looking at the foliage a little bit too closely there for my liking. But we're going to be going on to the garden stage in case you didn't know, from the nice scenery. This is perfect for Fillion if he wants to play Farah. She is very good on this objective, but maybe they just want to run this composition because both teams really just want to go at each other with these high sustain.
They're looking ready to go down and dirty with some goats. They want to keep the fight on the ground and keep it savage.
I can't wait. I'm genuinely so excited to see where this goes. These fights are going on for so long, and I want to see if either of these teams change up anything in any fashion, or whether they just keep ramming at each other, heads against the wall kind of thing. But right now, Tea&Biscuits are taking the high ground. HSL Esports need to think of a way to get in without, completely getting dropped on.
See, here's what they were doing. They went back to the spawn to swap Hidan onto the Zenyatta, knowing they're in a tank-to-tank matchup. But this Corridor going to make the difference here and match Mini Kungas when it comes to these brawls.
And it's big, and both Zenyatta's been able to get some pretty meaty picks, especially Mini Kunga on that sort of second point.
Speaking of meaty, the soft meat from Rosin has been exposed. He's been demexed, and Zyke can use that laser to cut through the mech. And now they're trying to form around him, close ranks. Some very low links to be taken out by Zyke. Tech 36 going to find Valmaster. HSL, they were slow to the party, but they got there just in time to get that first cap.
Zyke has his Graviton already, and that fight was fairly quick for those compositions. You're used to these fights going on as long as they did on City Centre, where it's almost a minute of just constant engagements. Zyke having a Graviton this early on, and twice as quickly as Link managed, really shows how much damage he was throwing out. You saw it on screen. He was just ripping through two Diva mechs at like 90% charge. So really solid play from Zarya. Could be the difference here.
He's at 100 charge right now. Just going to keep increasing from that point and ready to get it topped up. Just needs to send these people through and get that protective barrier. He's going to find Valmaster already. Transcendence coming out too late from Mini Kunga to keep him alive. On the point, HSL Esports have positional control. They're going to push forward. Graviton Surge available for Zyke. As Hidan are going to take out Lynx. They're pushing forward all the way back to the spawn room now. Tea&Biscuits struggling to get a foothold on this map.
F-shot used from Crandop. There was a lot of pressure coming in from Zyke with the high charge area. They forced Valmaster to push back. It left an opening for HSL Esports to F-shatter. Forced Mini Kunga to Transcendence, but unfortunately wasn't enough. So HSL are in pole position with Ultimate Economy. They have a Graviton.
Oh, there's a shot from the side actually, starting the fight off early. Valmaster taking out Ashcroft. Transcendence being used. Hidan topping everyone up. Graviton Surge fires straight in. They get returned as well. They've separated the fight. Bought some time. The ref's going to make them touch gloves and go at it again. It's the self-destruct Not going to find anyone hiding behind that shield. Zyke already, he's got that armor underneath the shield. The rally paying him dividends as they push forward into the fight. Roten taking out Candot, so they're losing that Reinhardt. That could be enough for Tea&Biscuits to get that foothold and begin to take this one back as they follow up with additional kills. Tech 3-6, Zyke, the man with the plan and the laser to back it up, being taken off the field. Hidan's going to drop as well, and that's enough. 82% before the point gets flipped over to Tea&Biscuits.
Ashcroft going down so early in that fight with the Sandberry it felt like the difference at HSL Esports. They did well to hold on for as long as possible, but dedicated so many ultimates to keep themselves in that fight. Tea&Biscuits now hold the point. They have Transcendence, no Graviton yet from Zyke, and they're very short on other ultimates. Valmaster might start this engagement with an Earth Shatter yet again, but he needs to synergize with his Brigitte to stun out Krandop, who is very close to having his own Earth Shatter. So this, again, could be a very heavy, meaty move.
Moving around from the side, you can see the flank going in from Sardis, but guess who had his number? It was Fillion as he takes him out before the fight even happens. One man down for HSL Esports. They're going to follow up. Transcendence came out a little bit early from Minikunga. Wasn't needed in that instance as the fight was already won. But HSL Esports still on the retreat.
The pressure's building because neither of these teams are really using their ultimates. Krandop used the Earth Shatter from HSL Esports, but again, didn't really go as far as he wanted to. But both teams building up their Gravitons, both building up their support ultimates too. Hidan has his Transcendence, Ashcroft still has that Sandberry on this attack, yet Tea&Biscuits don't have anything other than Rally. So this could be a really big engagement. 62% on the point for Tea&Biscuits to bring it onto University. 82% for HSL Esports to close this one out and win this match out.
Graviton Surge being eaten up. There's not much for them to be able to do here. Here comes Hidan with that Transcendence, and they got an advantage with the ult. Earth Shatter comes down for Valmaster. He's going to be taken out immediately afterwards by Krandop. Self-destruct from Roten 5-2. Ashcroft and Krandop are going to go down as they get the D-Mech on the Tech 3-6 as well. Zyke taking out Fillion. It can't stem the flow of Tea&Biscuits as they get the retech, and they're going to keep going. 85%, and it keeps on ticking up to hit that 90s. Stunned up Link's going to drop down. Hyden comes back in with the kill onto him, but Roten's going to take out Sardis. Tea&Biscuits remain in control with 5% to go.
We're still actually going to be seeing Tech 36 sort of contesting the point. Has to. We're in overtime now. Hidan is trying to just get shots, putting the Discord onto Valmaster, who's nowhere near having an Earth Shatter. We finally see a Sandberry used from Webster. No other ultimates available for Tea&Biscuits. HSL Esports the same. This is just a case of battering at each other, hoping that they can get a kill.
They blew both support ultimates at the same time. Sound Barrier and Transcendence down for HSL Esports. They got a couple of kills to kick things off. Krandop finds the return, but man advantage definitely in favor of HSL as they're looking to flip the point at 99%. They're going to get it done. 82%. One fight could decide it all, Ryan.
Zyke needs to get that Graviton early. You can see how aggressive he's been, trying to get picks, trying to stall out 89% on the point.
Oh, the grab's
Graviton
holding
gets
all
used
in
early.
the
This
corner.
is to clear
Flamethrower
it
cuts
up.
through. Valmaster finds Zyke and Ashcroft as they're going to move closer to the point. Tea&Biscuits want to flip this one back. 95%. Someone needs to go and touch instead of fighting off the point with the rest of them. And now HSL Esports are going to move back on and play the aggressor into this wall of meat that Tea&Biscuits have put up. 4 members against 2. Self-destruct being slotted in the pocket to keep him away. They might be able to buy him the flip. Lynx finds a kill, as does Fillion and Roten. Graviton Surge keeps them off the point, and they're going to put the Diva Mech right in front of them. Transcendence pops everyone up on Tea&Biscuits. This is not quick. They might get reinforcements in. 99%, and it's beginning to tick down into overtime. They can't contest. We're going the distance.
On the face of it, this match didn't really look too interesting, but now we're sort of getting right to the bare end of it, and we're going, both teams playing the same compositions, very tanky lineups. We are finishing this on probably the best tanky lineup part of any control map. We're going to be at the University, and it's going to be incredible. There's going to be some big explosions, huge Earth Shatter plays. Both of these teams have gone the distance, as you said, but this is where it ends.
Going to University. Going to be running similar compositions again. Just going to have goats. 2 stakes being thrown across the room at each other. Just going to get blood everywhere, and it's not very tasty. But it's entertaining to watch and very satisfying when it makes that meaty slap.
Meaty slap. I can't wait. I've never been so excited to watch goats.
I've never been so excited for a meaty slap. The Link's going to move on to the point. Going to get himself straight up, lead the charge with his Reinhardt. They're taking the fight to HSL very early, but Zyke still finds Valmaster in the chaos. I'm going to push him back. So HSL have the man advantage, but they've not really capitalized on the positional. They want to try and translate